So I grew up loving a lot of different franchises as a kid, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was never one that I was truly obsessed with for one reason or another. But after this movie, I only have one thing to say.
I like turtles.
What's up, guys? I'm Sully, and today I'm super excited because we finally get to talk about the new animated movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. All you need to know about this one is that the story goes like this. After years of being sheltered from the human world, the Turtle brothers set out to win the hearts of New Yorkers and be accepted as normal teenagers. Their new friend, April O'Neil, helps them take on a mysterious crime syndicate, but they soon get in over their heads when an army of mutants is unleashed upon them. So like I said earlier, for some reason, this is one franchise that I didn't just get insanely obsessed with when I was a young kid, which is weird because it encompasses a lot of stuff, right? There's TV shows, there's movies, there's comic books. The one thing that I did love, though, oh my god, the video games were just so good. I'll never forget going to my local arcade, playing the TMNT arcade game for hours on end, wasting all of my quarters into that thing. But the one that I really loved was the Super Nintendo game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. That thing was amazing. Every day after elementary school, that bell would ring, I'd run over to my friend DJ's house, we would play the shit out of that game, would kick us in the nads every time, but we just couldn't stop playing it. We were addicted. And because I spent so much time playing that game over and over, I kind of fell in love with these characters. So I can't imagine how many people out there love this franchise that were just consuming all of the mediums it had to offer. The games, the movies, the TV shows, the comics. And we know one of those fans is Seth Rogen. We know this project is pretty much his baby, right? I mean, he produced it, he wrote it, he stars in it. And when you think about it, this franchise is the perfect one for him to be associated with. I mean, it's a story about 4 turtles that interact with special ooze, it turns them into mutants, and they start practicing the ninja arts. You had to be high as shit to come up with that stuff. And guess what? Seth Rogen is always high as shit. Match made in heaven. And even though the general plot of the movie is pretty generic when it comes to origin stories and having a bad guy that just wants to take over the world, I have to commend him and his writing team because the dialogue felt very authentic and funny the entire way through. These characters actually felt like teenagers. And this movie pulled off a pretty decent balancing act here, because let's face it, I like to act like I can still roll with the in crowd, but I'm 28 years old now. I'm pretty much an old man. And there's tons of stuff that they could have pulled from with younger generations to make all of these jokes just cringy as all hell and go completely over my head. But they do a nice job appealing to a more broad audience with all of their references and their punchlines. So it's a massive strong suit of the movie. It could have gone off the rails majorly if they decided to latch on to that TikTok teenager generation of today, but they didn't, and thank God for that. And keeping with ways that this movie feels a little bit more authentic than usual, they didn't go the predictable Hollywood route with its casting, right? Instead of getting a bunch of 30-year-old guys pretending they're teenagers playing the Turtle Brothers, they went out there and found some actual young kids to do it, and it goes a long way in this movie. The entirety of the voice work is just fantastic any way you look at it in general, and I mean, you look at the supporting cast here, there are some heavy hitters. I'm talking Seth Rogen himself, John Cena, Rose Byrne, Maya Rudolph, Paul Rudd, Giancarlo Esposito, Post Malone for God's sakes. And although there's not enough time to squeeze everybody in and give them a ton of dialogue, every character has at least 1 or 2 memorable moments. It's just great stuff. Now we have to talk about the visuals here because they are absolutely drop-dead gorgeous and incredible. And I know we hear this a lot nowadays, but they kind of look similar to movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which makes sense because one of the directors from there is now doing this movie, Jeff Rowe, accompanied by a co-director in Kyler Spears. But it looks a little bit different than those films because it's rough around the edges and a little concept arty. It's almost as if what we're seeing up on the big screen was a couple drafts away from perfection. There's still some squiggly lines, some outlines, stuff that doesn't normally seem like it would be in a polished animated film. But I really think that added a ton of volume to the visuals and just made it stand out with its own unique flair. And in tandem with that, the action is handled beautifully. There's one scene that I just cannot get out of my head where the boys need to get a little bit more information on the head honcho of the bad guys, so they start knocking down doors and kicking some serious ass. The sequence that ensues is a fight montage with all those different encounters layered on top of one another. Woo boy, buckle up for that one. One last thing this movie does really well is the soundtrack. Just tons of timeless and awesome classic songs that fit the vibe of this movie really well. And on top of that, the musical scoring was really well done too. And I hope you're sitting down when I tell you this. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are the two guys behind making that happen. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm a massive Nine Inch Nails fan. Did I ever think we were going to get a TMNT movie out of them? No, but the world's better off because of it. Just to touch on a couple of the negatives with this film, I do feel like the messaging in this movie beat you over the head a little bit. You know, what makes you different is what makes you special, being accepting of people that are different from you. But at the end of the day, it is a kid's movie, so who am I to complain too much about that? The message it does show is a positive one, so whatever, it works. And then there just wasn't enough time invested into making each member of the turtle team feel totally unique from one another. We know that they usually have very different personalities, have their own set of skills, have their own set of quirks, and that just really wasn't explored in this movie as much as I would have wanted it to be. So hopefully they do that to greater effect in future installments. Overall, guys, I dug this movie way more than I was expecting to. Obviously, I like Seth Rogen, this director, and the visual style, but since I don't have an insanely deep-seated relationship with this franchise and the nostalgia surrounding it that a lot of others do, I didn't think it was totally going to be my cup of tea. I was wrong. This movie is stylish, it has a banging soundtrack, and it's filled with top-tier recognizable voices. This is just one of those movies where it's plain to see at every turn that the team behind it are fans first and foremost, and they really let their passion translate to the big screen. If you're a fan of the franchise or just want to take the whole family to the movies, you can't go wrong here. I'm drinking the ooze on this one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem gets a Sully score of 4 stars. So that's my review of the latest Ninja Turtles movie. Which is your favorite film involving these guys? I feel like I haven't seen any of them, so I want to know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next one.